After last Saturday's thriller, United look to get back to winning ways against lofty competition in Crawley Town. Will the stormy conditions wreak havoc at the Abbey, or will United blow away a team currently sat in 21st? Hello then, and a very warm welcome to Under the Abbey Stand, the preview show. I'm your host, my name is Jordan Warland, and joining me, your power mine, Mr. Tom Walker. Hello, Tom.
Happy Friday, Jord. Good to be back on this glorious Friday, or bad Friday, depending on what your outlook is and what the weather's like, I suppose, or is like.
Happy Friday to everyone. It's a special Friday for me, Tom.
Oh yeah,
yeah. You're not going to be prepared for this in your many notes of prep for this pod. You're not going to have this one in there, but it's Taylor Swift album day today, mate. The Life of a Showgirl's out. So the moment I stop listening to your delicate tones, I'm going to stick on the delicate tones of Taylor Swift.
Some might call that
downgrade.
Downgrade. Yeah. Well, that's good for you. That's kicking the weekend off to a really good start for you.
Yeah, mate, throwing a skepasti, it's going to be a great weekend. What score do Cambridge have to win by on Saturday for you to give Taylor Swift's new album a listen on your next run?
Oh, we'll see what happens.
Oh, you're planning to do it anyway? You're just keeping it coy, aren't you?
Yeah. If we win 7-0, I'll get Caspel to listen to the whole thing back to back on the Cambridge half. How about that?
Terrific. As he jogs his way to £1,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's not that. We're going to have to change that. We're going to change it to something that's less value. Sorry to disappoint, but I'm not as confident as I was. So, and I'm not perfect. So there we go.
Can I tell you a little bit about the life of a skepasti?
Again, please do.
It's short-lived, mate. Comes out on the plate, I eat it quickly, and that is what I plan to do this weekend, because I am going to take full advantage of the terrific sponsorship deal that we have for you lucky UTAS listeners with the Old Spring #1 Ferry Path. Matchday Meal Deal, that's available on Saturday. Happy hour post-game, that's available on Saturday. And of course, on non-match days, you've got the ticket holder discount, 10% off at any time. The Old Spring's home, good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely love it. It's, what a venue. And skepasti is something that I've not tasted yet, but I think Saturday's the day. Really think it is.
Talking of Saturdays, let's talk about last Saturday. Have you recovered from the boredom?
I thought you were going to ask if I'd come down from the excitement then. In both instances, my answer will probably be no. Mate, yeah, it was a tragic football match. I mean, we discussed it on the on the review show, but I mean, like, we tried to find a few other 0-0s that were worse, but obviously the bad 0-0s are forgettable by definition, so you do kind of tend to forget them. But I mean, if you can find me 5 worse football matches, I'd be surprised. I can't think of any really. And yeah, one that I'm really glad is now in the rearview mirror, I should say, because it was pretty shit, to be fair.
Do you think Saturday against Crawley is going to be any sort of reaction from Harris in that? Do you reckon he's going to release the handbrake a little bit? Maybe try and go for it. Try and put on a bit more of an overwhelming performance to compensate for it, or you're not convinced that he's going to veer from his tactics of how he approaches home games anyway?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to totally reverse it, to be honest. Like, in his presser, he was talking about being patient, so that's a good start to the handbrake coming off, because it doesn't scream that sort of language, I guess. But yeah, I think there'll have to be a reaction of sorts. Like, it's obviously a game we're going to have to put a bit more intent into winning. Not quite sure I'd buy any suggestion that we had much of an intent to go out and win the game on Saturday. But, you know, it's back at the Abbey, it's in front of our own fans. We have to have something like that. And Crawley are, famous last words maybe, but they're a team that we should be looking to get 3 points off. So, yeah, we're going to have to see something of a reaction. But I'm not sure we're going to be total football caution to the win from the off. I think we might be a little bit more, more of the same, I guess, like we saw against Fleetwood and a couple of the others.
He was challenged about the lack of goals in the presser, wasn't he? And he said he wasn't concerned, spoke about the balance between defence and attack, and praised Tranmere for their sort of tough defending and 5 behind the ball and things like that. But what I found interesting in the presser, he was talking about how there's an element that you have to throw it over to the players. There's a responsibility there for them to be, taking the game to oppositions and being better in moments. So I wonder if that might play into his thinking and his tinkering with the lineup on Saturday. One thing we do know about Saturday, Tom, Mr. Neil Harris will be on the touchline. What discipline problem, hey? Just the fine. Talked about it in the presser. He seemed very mindful to put the matter to bed, didn't he? And accepts that his body language and his conduct should be held in high regard, and is talking about how he's going to adjust how he speaks at time. You're not going to adjust how you speak on this pod, are you, Tom?
Well, depends.
You've already said shit once, so
it very much depends if I'm going to get fined £750 for the privilege, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand him wanting to somewhat brush it under the carpet a little bit. It very much has been told what happened the night before, isn't it? And you're like, just stop talking. It's like hearing it back is like metal on metal sort of sound, not pleasant. Did raise an interesting thought in my head though, because if what's been alleged is what's been deemed to have happened, which I'm going to assume for the benefit of this that it is basically he's paid £750 for the privilege of punching the Grimsby striker Cabia. It did raise an interesting question in my mind of which footballers would I pay that sort of money to punch. Not ashamed to admit a couple of our own came to the top of my head, but I'm sure there's others out there. And be interesting suggestions. If you had to pay £750 to punch a footballer, who would be top of your list? That's at Abbey Standard Pod on X
or on Substack. On the old Substack chats with the Coconut Tier legends, a mere £5 a month to be a top fan of this podcast and get your exclusive content. Would you rather pay Caspel £750 and let him punch you, or would you rather pay the £750 after he's beat you in a half marathon? You got a preference there?
What, let him pay to punch me?
Yeah.
Mate, he slide tackled me for free on a concourse at St Pancras once, out of nowhere. So yeah, if I don't think a punch is much of an upgrade from that, and £750 is much of an upgrade from zero. So yeah,
and you don't have to do the half marathon. You just go straight to the pub, go straight to the Old Spring. The Old Spring is very near the start and finish line of the half marathon.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's all on all starts and finishes on Midsummer Common, doesn't it?
So in theory, I could just stay there and just pretend that I've done it.
And enjoy skepasti at the same time.
There we go. Or two, maybe. We'll see.
How many skepastis could you eat in the time that Caspel does his half marathon in? That's the real race.
I don't really want to give more airtime to this, to be honest. I don't want to give it too much oxygen, because I get it every week from him. And yeah, let's be frank, people have heard enough.
Should we talk about Neil Harris and his comments in the presser then, before we dissect the challenge ahead? That's Crawley. Wouldn't be drawn to comment on the availability of everyone, so maybe there might be a surprise or two in the lineup. He also was pretty confident that Ryan Loft can't play, but wasn't 100% sure. So first question, Tom, is there a part of you that's fearing a Paul Carden-esque appearance from a Cambridge player against us?
Fearing is an interesting word there. When it comes to Ryan Loft, a man who, if you search his name on Twitter, is getting quite the quite the reception from his new set of fans. I've seen a lot of people saying he's the worst striker that's ever played in a Crawley shirt, which for Crawley arguably is hard to believe, but as a Cambridge fan who's watched him, maybe not so much. Yeah, I mean, that'd be a laugh. I think, yeah, the thing is, and I know that while he was here, he copped a lot of flack for basically the length of his contract and the fact he paid a fee. Both things are not his fault. But, like, there's that thing when, like, an old striker comes back to play against you and everyone's like, oh, wouldn't it be typical if they scored against us? Yeah, like, that's sort of the case. But also, it is Ryan Loft. He is arguably the worst striker we've ever had, or certainly paid a fee for and given a contract to. So, yeah, I've got to say, if he rocks up and he is starting, fair enough. That Cambridge nil looks ever so more. Sorry, Crawley nil looks ever so much more. A little bit more likely. So, yeah, not too concerned, to be honest with you.
Talking of strikers, Tom, a lot was asked in the presser about starting with two strikers and how close we are to maybe starting both Lavery and Kouassi at the same time. the response that came back was a cautious one about the challenge that Neil Harris faces around having to balance keeping players fit and making sure that we are, I don't know, not too cautious at the start, but also making sure that we've got balance on the bench so that we can finish games strong if we can. Is this a duo that you want to see starting in games against teams like Crawley? You know, no disrespect, but home games you're expecting to win, or are you more okay with the idea of sort of keeping Lavery back as an impact in case, you know, we get to a certain point in the game and we are still chasing it?
It's definitely something I want to see because, you know, we are undoubtedly, well, maybe not undoubtedly, it's not totally objective, but certainly in my opinion anyway, for what that's worth, we just look so much better with two up top. Fleetwood game's absolutely case in point, isn't it? You know, you pretty much immediately, well, actually what happened immediately after going two up top is we conceded, but that had nothing to do with it. In terms of actual gameplay, we should look miles better, miles more threatening, miles more effective. Totally changed the sort of tone and dynamic of the game. So yes, definitely something I want to see. But having said that, I think while Appare's out and not able to like feature at all in the squad, I do understand why he'd stick with one. Because like, you know, there is a scenario where, you know, you're 0-0 or you're a goal down or something, and then you have to make a change to take one of them off. Because Lavery's probably not going to get through 90 minutes, perhaps not even Kouassi.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking like the optics of that aren't great, but also like it doesn't do much for how you can actually impact the game. So I do kind of understand that. I could also totally understand and totally sympathise with the idea that start with them, blow them away for 60 minutes and then shore it up. Both things are kind of theoretical, aren't they? So I could kind of understand either of them. But
It'd be lovely to see that, wouldn't it? It'd be lovely to watch
Yeah.
that. It doesn't feel very on trend for this season, though, does it? Blowing someone away and being
no, I
two,
think
3, 4 up.
I think a lot of people would say that it's not very Neil Harris, almost like a subtle dig. But I don't think you see any managers do that. Really, I can't think of any examples that happening. So, yeah, look, I don't think it'll happen yet. But I think once we've got more options available to us, basically Apare coming back, then maybe so. I suppose it doesn't mean you can't play 4-4-2. You know, could Kai maybe fill in one of those roles and maybe play a bit more centrally? Think he's done that to good effect. That's probably what I'd do, to be honest. But yeah, I don't think we'll see the two of them, Kouassi and Lavery, starting together just yet.
On the topic of goals, what I thought was an interesting question in the presser was Neil Harris was asked about the fact that we've had no goals yet from any of our central midfielders. Interesting, this one, isn't it? Because we've got goals from literally every other position, right? We do okay in terms of goal scored. We're not the biggest goal scorers in the league, but we're getting goals from defence and different types of attackers and wingers and so forth. But yeah, none from the free fit and available central midfielders. 4 if you include Corey Smith. A little bit harsh to add him into the mixer considering he's only played 60 minutes. But on this topic, Tom, I wanted to get a little bet from you. Like, who do you think will be the first central midfielder to score for Cambridge this season and why?
McLovin.
Yeah?
Let's go with him. Yeah. The other 3 are the pedigree, but I reckon he's the one that comes through with the goods.
Do you think this is an issue? Do you think the lack of goals is an issue from central midfield, considering we've got goals coming from elsewhere? We've talked a lot about this area on other pods, and we talked about, you know, Pelly Ruddock on the review pod, and he was questioned in the presser about Pelly and his performances so far. You worried about goals, or is it sort of more other attributes that you're more concerned with central midfield?
Yeah, I think we're looking one step too far ahead, to be honest. If you're talking about goal return from central midfielders, obviously that is a problem because, you know, you want goals coming from that sort of area of the pitch. It's more, and to be fair, it wasn't that long ago we were talking about the fact that goals were coming from different places, so I'm not really too worried about that. It's more like what they're doing to contribute to chance creation. I think that's the thing. Obviously, who scores the goals is one thing, but I think the problem that we're facing at the moment is not really being able to create too many clear-cut opportunities to actually score them. Tranmere, like, that was absolute case in point. Like, I suppose in a game like that, if a centre mid's going to score a goal, it's going to have to be like a 30-yard thunderbolt, and that's like 1 in 100, right? So you can't really bank on that. It's not scalable. It's not sustainable. So yeah, it has to be finding a formula there which contributes to better play to create chances, I think. And that based on what I've seen, feels a little way off, to be honest, which is a concern. But yeah, hopefully one where whether it's the shape of the team, whether it's personnel, and big decisions might have to be made about who plays basically. Something will have to be done to rectify that, because if not, I don't think we'll ever reach the sort of levels that we want to be at.
Yeah. One of the other things he was asked in the presser was about rotation and squad depth. And it feels to me that Saturday might be another instance where we do see a bit of a shift in who starts. He was asked specifically about right back and Gibbons and Bennett. In his answer, he sort of expanded it out to pretty much the whole back line. And he spoke about how tricky it is for selection and how it's tough trying to reward consistency, but also looking at the opponent and looking at upcoming fixtures and trying to get the balance right about who plays when. How have you been feeling about the rotation in the squad so far? And do you think people are getting the right minutes and the right calls coming into games? We touched on it in the review show and about, who did and didn't play then, given the Fulham game. Do you think we'll see something different on Saturday against Crawley?
Well, I have said on the basis of what we've seen so far, probably not, to be honest. Let me just get out my big Bradshaw bass drum again and start banging it. I think
world class, I think you said. I think
look, I don't know. I might be missing something. I might be talking about this as too much of a layman, as too much of a muggle, basically. But I can't understand on the basis of what we've seen why he's not started a game in the league. That to me is the obvious change if you're going to make one. I think Purrington's been well off it, to be honest. Thought he was really poor at Tranmere, even in a defence which looked pretty comfortable. But just going forward, just didn't really contribute much. So I think Bradshaw is probably the one that I think would have to come in. Gibbons and Bennett, yeah, they're kind of interchangeable. I think my understanding of it would be in a game that you're expecting to dominate and expecting to, where the onus still need to win, Bennett starts and vice versa with Gibbons. So in that sense, probably, I'd probably rotate the fullbacks, I suppose. But I'm not sure it'll happen. I think Bennett will come back in if you're pushing me for a prediction there, Jord. But I think we might be left scratching our heads again with regards to Bradshaw. But let's see.
Would you like to find out a little bit more about Crawley Town, Tom?
Not really, but if we have to, I feel like by now we know everything that we need to know about Crawley Town. But hey, maybe there's something I don't know.
Well, the thing is, Tom, I took 10 minutes out of my day earlier to speak to a Crawley fan. So you will sit down and you will listen to it. And then after that, you'll listen to The Life of a Showgirl. Here we go then. Let's listen to my discussion with Ruben. Right then, news fans, it's time to find out a little bit more about Saturday's visitors to the Abbey. Joining us from the Simply Reds podcast, we have Ruben. Ruben, thanks for taking the time.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
I guess first question, let's hark back to last season, because obviously this was a League One fixture last year. How did you feel about dropping out of League One and the relegation? Did it feel inevitable, or were you disappointed? What did you think about that one?
I mean, I think we're always going to be expected to be relegated. I think even had we been in League Two last season, we still probably would have been favourites to be relegated. And that seems to be the story of all of our leagues and our seasons. I think this is probably the first season in ages we've not actually been favourites to be relegated. So I think we're always going to be punching above our weight in League One. It was a surprise for us to get promoted the previous season. And I think it's just the case of we were so close to actually staying up. Mm-hmm. Had Scott Lindsay have come in a couple more games prior to when he did, we probably would have stayed up. But unfortunately, things happened, and we are where we are. And now our priority is staying up in League Two, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's not been the best of starts. You mentioned your man Scott Lindsay there. Bit of a colourful career to date. Obviously, the amazing promotion getting you up against the odds. Started really well in League One. He left you, and now he's back. What's the fan base's take on Scott Lindsay? Is he still considered a hero, or is it a little bit more awkward?
I think so. No, I think people are still considering him a hero. I mean, we were recording our podcast last night, and my co-host was saying that probably if we had another manager who'd only come in for this season, we'd probably begin questioning them. and be like, oh, the person to take us forward and to keep us up into League Two. But I think because he has got us promoted, or he has done for the club, and he helped to avoid us getting relegated a few seasons ago, then I think he's probably got a lot longer left than perhaps another manager would, who would have just come in.
Yeah. So any pressure on him at all? Sort of 10 games in, being in the bottom four, or not yet?
I think there's definitely pressures from particular fans. I mean, I think our last home game on Saturday, there was a few words said between both those types of fans and the manager. So I think the impatient fans who just want to win are definitely starting to question him. But the more probably those of the older age range probably want to give him a bit more time.
No. So 10 games in, just the 2 wins, you find yourself 21st in the bottom 4. What's been the story of the season so far? Why are you down there in 21st?
I just don't think we've got a proper goal scorer, really. I mean, we've got Harry McCurdy, who he's one of those players where you actually detest him when he's on the opposition team, but when he's on your team, you kind of fall in love with him. And he's been our only really goal scoring threat. I mean, we signed Shamanga from Swindon, who was our number 9, and he's barely can hit the back of the net. And then, of course, our latest striker, a certain
Ryan friend. Loft. Yeah, our mutual
Ryan
friend.
Loft.
Didn't take us long to get there. Yeah. How's Lofty settling in?
He scored one, I think, in some cup game in the Bristol Streets Virtue Papa John's Trophy, whatever it's called nowadays.
Yeah.
So he found back of the net once for us. I don't think he's probably been brought in to be that goal scoring threat up front. I should imagine it's more kind of big man, little man for us, and for him just to be able to pass the ball down to Harry McCurdy, who's slightly shorter in stature, and also just to be a bit more of a presence for corners, and both defending and attacking, because we're quite a small team, and so that's probably why he's kind of being brought in. So I mean, I don't expect him to get onto double figures at all for us this season, but potentially on assists he might get that way. I mean, there's a video going around of the game against Barrow where he missed, and it's probably one of the ones where it's probably actually is quite a difficult shot to make. It's just whenever you see a player that close to the line, you're like, how on earth can you miss from there?
Yeah.
But it's probably a lot harder than it looks.
Do you think you'll miss him on Saturday? How do you think you'll sort of
that's
respond to that? Yeah.
That's what we were trying to decide last night in our podcast. We're trying to decide whether you guys might have said for Loft has to start for us.
It's a stipulation.
Yeah. But I don't think he's brought enough yet to say we're going to miss him. It's more just a concern as to who's going to replace him. I mean, he got sent off in the first game for us when he played 2 yellows. So we've played games since he's joined without him. And so, no doubt Shamanga will probably play up front alongside McCurdy, or we might try something completely different.
Yeah, I saw the highlights of his sending off. That second yellow was a shocker. That was never a second yellow. So felt really bad for him on his debut.
It wasn't his fault, and again, just doesn't paint him in a very good picture. Because again, all fans just think about, he's got sent off, but don't actually look at probably shouldn't have got sent off.
Absolutely. So what's the normal formation that Scott Lindsay uses?
I mean, he loves kind of using the wing backs. Probably kind of going like a 5-3-2, but more with the wing backs kind of being more attacking. So definitely more wingers than kind of defensive minded, although they are expected to track back very, very quickly. And it's been the story of Scott Lindsay's managerial career with at least Crawley kind of playing that formation. I remember one quote where he said their plan B is to do plan A better. So he doesn't necessarily agree with kind of shaking it up that much. And one thing that was actually interesting at a game against Barrow at Saturday is we only made one substitution. And that one substitution came in the 10th minute due to injury. We didn't actually make any substitutions in the second half, which is unusual when you're losing the game. So he's definitely likes to stick with the team that he has, unless, of course, injuries. We've got an injured goalkeeper now. So our goalkeeper, who's only played one game for us this season and wasn't highly sought of last season either for us, will be between the sticks on Saturday.
Interesting. Talk me through a couple of names for Cambridge fans to keep an eye out for on Saturday as potential sort of key influences on the game, maybe match winners or at either end.
I mean, I've got to say Harry McCurdy. He's our highest goal scorer so far. And like I said, you absolutely hate him when he's on the opposition. He winds the fans up. And no doubt if he does score, particularly where the Cambridge fans are, expect those fans to be probably riled up a little bit. I'd also like to say Bajrami as well, who's a player who we brought in on loan from Burton. And I think whenever you sign a player who also was in a relegation battle last season, you're like, why on earth are we signing this player? But actually, he's been a pleasant surprise for us. And so hopefully that he can kind of keep up the way he's been playing.
Is he centre mid? Is that his position?
Yeah. But probably more defensive than attacking. Yeah. And another player who hopefully we might see is a guy called Dixon. We got him on loan from Charlton. He plays for Jamaica's national team. He's still, I think he's maybe 18, 19 years old. So he still hasn't quite found his form yet and found the back of the net as many times as he probably would have liked. And so there's still quite raw. But hopefully we'll be able to kind of bring the best out of him and hopefully he can start scoring because it's also his birthday on Saturday. So it'd be nice for him to hit the back of the net for his birthday.
How do you see Saturday panning out then, Ruben? What do you think the game will look like and how do you think the final score will look?
I think Crawley fans will be pleased coming back with a point. I think whenever you go to any away game, if you can arrive with a point and leave with a point, that's a good game. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised and it'll be a good win if we do get those 3 points, particularly with how the season's panned out for us so far. I should imagine probably if we do have a goal scorer, it will probably be McCurdy. Hopefully he's able to hit the back of the net again. But yeah, I mean, I'd also be surprised if we don't concede because I think we've conceded like 17 goals this season, which isn't good in 10 games. So make sure you get your bets on for Cambridge to score.
Excellent. And what about that final score? What's your gut telling you?
I'm going to go for 2-1 Crawley. I'll be hopeful.
Optimistic. It's that birthday fever, huh?
Yes, yeah. Well, it's also my birthday as well on Saturday, so I'm hoping that they win for me.
I don't want to ruin your birthday, but I hope they don't. Ruben, thank you so much. Thanks for your insights. Cheers. Thank you very much, Ruben, and thank you to me, obviously, for doing that interview. I picked up a couple of pieces from that fan interview, Tom, that I wanted to run past you. Hopefully some good omens. Conceded 17 goals so far this season. That's quite a lot. You feeling bullish about our chances of finding the back of the net on Saturday?
Yeah, I'd like to think so. With those numbers, if you haven't got a chance then when have you, basically? Yeah, I think so. I think like the kind of way of thinking that will come around to more than anything is you've got to think like regardless of opposition, like, you know, we're not a team, in my opinion, that should be looking at like mid-table and thinking like that's the scope of our limit. I think we should be looking at the real upper parts of the table, just based on the quality of what's in the league. So yeah, like with respect, like Crawley comes to the Abbey, even if they boasted a much better defensive record than they actually do, they'll be looking at thinking, yeah, it's a game where we should be able to really put it on them, and it's a game where we should really be able to make a bit of a gap in quality and a bit of a gap in investment show. So yeah, like, obviously with things as they are and the fact that they are leaking goals, yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, it's again, I fully expect that we should be winning, to be honest, if that's not too bullish of me.
Well, the other thing that I picked up from the fan interview, Ruben said that Crawley are quite a small team, quite a short team. So some people will be listening to this saying, Jordan, that's you'd fit in. But I'm putting it to you, Tom, that our terrific set piece record, I reckon that's in for another one or two this weekend. I've got a feeling that might be where the game is won and lost. So our sort of ability to bully them, get on top from sort of corners and free kicks. The other factor as well is obviously the weather forecast for Saturday. I know you're a man that doesn't like to spend too much time looking at the old weather forecast. But it's looking to be pretty windy on Saturday, so could be one of those where you get a half where it is better suited, and you got to make the opportunities count. Then I'm also, Tom, got a sneaky feeling with the small team and the set pieces. Coming back to that question about first central midfielder to score, Don ball header. That's what my gut's telling me for Saturday.
He should have had about 10 already. He should have had about 10 already.
I know. The thing is as well, right? I'm thinking about home games. I don't know if you remember the first one of the season. He missed a real gilt-edged one.
Yeah.
But it was quite close to going in. I feel like they're gradually getting further and further away from the goal, like they're going the wrong way. But this Saturday, this is the one, Don ball header. I'm calling it.
You've been quite good on the predictions recently as well, so I might have a penny or two on that. Let's see.
But yeah, do you think there's something in the set pieces and the physical sort of advantage that we're going to have on Saturday?
Yeah, I think so. Unless Lofty can play, in which case I'm sure he'll put that to the test. Yeah, I think so. Like we've been really good from set pieces so far this season, albeit slightly disappointing at Fulham, but that was what it was. Yeah, I think it's such an important part of the game. You see it at every level now, to be fair. Like it's not something that's just reduced to sort of lower leagues that like you have to sort of bank on set pieces, long throws, all the rest of it. Like they're back, Jord. This is the good old days again.
They're very on trend in the Prem, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, look, they are important. We're getting them right for the most part so far. So yeah, why not? Hopefully this time Don Ball can get at the right side of the post, but let's see.
One of the things that Harris said in the presser is that Crawley are a possession-based team. Do you think that might suit us on Saturday? Us not having to dominate the ball as much as we've had to do in home games. We've got a mixed record, haven't we? Harrogates and Newports and so forth. Sometimes we've got over the line, other times we haven't. But the one consistent in all of those games is that we've bossed possession. So this will be probably a little bit more even. Do you reckon that might, I don't know, bring out the better attributes of some of our better players? Our more sort of attacking players, maybe having a little bit more on the counter rather than having to hold on to the ball as much.
Probably depends where they have possession. I think Harris also talked about the fact they like to retain possession in their own third, which might make it intensely frustrating more than anything. I think probably, to be honest, the stats don't really back this up at all, do they? Because we've basically beaten the teams that are below us and lost against the teams that are above us, mostly, for the most part. But I do feel like maybe the way that we play is better suited to a team that are going to come at us a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure is necessarily what Harris was saying Crawley would do. But I think he meant more like they'll try and keep the ball to frustrate us, which is something that, I think he also said we might have to be a bit patient with, which is what I said right at the start of the pod. But yeah, maybe. Look, let's see. I think my appearance on these preview shows is going to get immensely boring if I say the same thing every week. But I really do just think, with the greatest of respect, it's a bottom half League Two team. Their style of play shouldn't come into it too much. We should have enough about us to beat them, and I think hopefully that'll be the case.
With everything that we've just said, then about how Crawley might play and where they might hang on to the ball, do you reckon Neil Harris is going to tweak the lineup? Maybe go back to the 4-2-3-1 rather than a 4-4-2?
Well, I guess following on from what we were just speaking about with the will we start two up top thing. I think basically, I think the happy middle ground there is that you start Kai in a central position. And I think we have to do that. Look, we've had our say on Kachunga. We don't need to go into it that much more. Thought it was quite interesting that in the presser, Harris described Kachunga as a 9 or a 10, a 9
and 3/4,
or a 9 and 3/4. And that got me thinking that is actually quite a good comparison, because obviously 9 and 3/4, famously platform 9 and 3/4 for Harry Potter, is a mythical thing that nobody really knows what it's there for unless you're in the know, sort of thing. And I'm none the wiser. So maybe he is a bit of a myth. But yeah, I think that sort of three behind the one that you could start with, the Kai Central, is surely too good for this division. You know, Maya, Kai, Brophy, that has to be good enough to win this game, basically on its own. And then probably you start with Kouassi, and then Lavery comes on later on, and hopefully you can go two up top, and that's the ideal thing. But I think that set of 11 players, if the front four are basically what I've just said, that should be enough.
Yeah. What about the rest of the pitch? I think you touched on the fullbacks already, but yeah, what do you think the lineup will be on Saturday if you were in charge?
Well, I think like we've been through fullbacks already. I as much as I'd love to see Job come into the team, I think the centre backs kind of have to say the same, because I think their performances dictate that they just deserve to keep their place, even though Job was excellent against Fulham. So I think really the only other bit of the pitch which is sort of vaguely interesting is central midfield, and what do you do there. What I took from Harris's press conference was that he talked a lot about individual performances. He talked a lot about, or sort of alluded to the fact that certain players haven't contributed what he would have liked. So I'm wondering whether he might make a bit of a change there, and someone might come in. I'm wondering whether Smith might come in if he's fit enough. Like, he played well at Fulham. It feels like the sort of game after Tranmere where if you're going to change something up, centre mid is probably the part of the pitch where you do it. So I think, you know, my prediction is that something will change in there, but I don't know what it'll be. If it was me, I'd probably start with Pelly and Smith, to be honest. I think you just have to trust in Pelly's quality at this point. He's good enough. He's got a pedigree. I guess you could argue that Ball has as well, but he's been the one that's actually made like outright mistakes that have led to goals. So if someone deserves to lose their place, if you have to pick one of them, it's probably him. And I think if someone's going to come in, probably it's Smith, just because, you know, he's one that performed so well at Fulham, I suppose. But McGlovin did as well, and he'll be harshly, he'll feel hard done by. I guess he's maybe not got more minutes recently, but you know what? He's probably signed well aware that he's likely to be the fourth choice midfielder, and sometimes there's just better players ahead of you, and that's probably the way it is for him, I guess.
Two extremes on this pod. I've gone with a Don Ball goal. You've gone with a Don Ball drop in. Yeah, I hadn't thought too much about the central midfield and whether they change it. I just feel like that home game, it's just so locked in that it's Ball and it's Pelly in there. But yeah, I'd be fascinated to see if a mix in there could bring something in. Yeah, similar. I think the back two is what it is, and I think Bennett will come in, and I think Purrington stays as well. Can I draw you on a score prediction, Tom?
Yes, you can. Look, I think the thing that we've called out for in the last few weeks, particularly as we've gone into home games, is that statement performance, and the performance which you know, you can really hang your hat on and be like, right, we've clicked a little bit there. That looked really good. Like, that looked like the team that we should basically be wanting to be and sort of replicate for the rest of the season. I'm not convinced we'll get that, but I think we might get a scoreline that reflects it. So I think we might get like a relatively comfortable 2 or 3-0 win, to be honest. I just think we should have enough. And I think it's time for us to step up just a touch, but I'm not sure it'll quite be the swashbuckling, free-flowing, attacking football we're maybe wanting. But I think it'll be effective. I think it'll be efficient. I think we're probably the better team. So 3 points, I reckon.
See, I've got a feeling it's going to be a little bit like the Oldham game. We're going to come up against a team that's got a plan. Might frustrate us, like we're talking about. I think it'll be close, but I'm not going to go with a close score like 2-1. I'm going to go with 7-0, just purely because you'll go and listen to Taylor Swift afterwards if we win 7-0. So that is my prediction. We will, of course, be back on Monday to review everything from the Crawley game. We might even be reviewing some skepastis. You never know. Until then, a quick reminder to join the Coconut tier. £5 a month gets you exclusive content every week. And of course, another plug for our sponsors, the Old Spring. Tomo, it's been thoroughly enjoyable, mate.
It always is. These Fridays come around and they go far too quickly, don't they? But I look forward to the next one all the same.
And I look forward to hearing your Taylor Swift review, mate. You enjoy that listening after this. We'll be back with you real soon.